My talk is about, well, I want to encourage you to own the tools you're running. So even if this means to break the rules or do something different than best practices tell you, and the example I would like to take is running Puppet on SSH. Well, I'm Thomas, work for NetWays in Nuremberg in Germany, was born in the Italian Alps, and I'm doing, well, automation, monitoring, crazy shit for a living, and that's why I'm here. The customers I work with want to do things the right way. So they replace their old bunch of shell scripts doing automation with a wonderful Puppet stack. And that's often the very first time in their lives they end up with running Ruby, running Clojure, Java, a lot of databases and message queues. And if they want to do it right and high available, they end up with a huge stack that's able, well, it's possible to do it automated, but it gets very complicated, and very often Puppet is the most complicated stack they have in their office. And it gets even worse because they often expect to get something to do orchestration-like work, and there is no such thing. So Puppet Kick was deprecated for a reason. Mariner Collective gets no love since a long time, and the new protocols we have in Puppet are around the corner, but they're not ready for production right now. And we should remember that configuration management is not only for daydreamers with their head in the clouds, but for real ops doing real work in real businesses. And so the tools should work for them. One approach to make Puppet easier could be to start running it with SSH for simple setups. This works for all the others. It works for Ansible, for Chef, SaltStack, and so on, but it doesn't work for Puppet. If you go and Google for Puppet and SSH, what you usually find is, well, a way explaining you to clone your manifests everywhere and run Puppet apply, but that's absolutely not what I want. Because I do not want to have my passwords everywhere. I want to have centralized control and reports and so on. So what I try to do is to, usually I drop tools that waste my time, but I love Puppet. I love that defined of state thingy and so on. So I wanted to get it working the way I want and try to run Puppet on SSH. And it's basically pretty easy because you just say SSH to a node, get all the facts, compile the catalog locally, pick the compile catalog, and apply it on your site. And basically, that's it. Wrap it in a nice tool, and you have Puppet on SSH. But it then gets complicated if you look, for example, at the fact that Puppet is a very powerful file server, and you cannot reach a Puppet master anymore if there is no Puppet master. So what I did to solve this is loop through the compile catalog, pick up all the file resources, replace them with sources pointing to files I rsync to the other node, and well, sync the files before I apply the catalogs. And this works very, very well and is extremely fast. I solved the plugin sync the very same way. The only difference to the Puppet way of doing is that syncing libs per rsync is way faster, and I have no problem with overlapping environments and environment-related bugs and so on. Exported resources and reports, you might ask. If you want to have them, they'll just work because you still have a centralized Puppet. You can run it with the same user, same configuration. Everything is fine. Another thing I hate is having just one node per catalog and being forced to run hundreds and thousands of resources and validate them twice an hour on every node. That I do not need this. I want to have small partial catalogs. I want to do things on demand right now, but I want to have the defined state Puppet has. So I want to say on that node, Apache should be stopped. And this works fine with SSH. So you could think a little bit different. It would work. And if you think this idea a little bit further, you could have centralized catalogs doing your automation orchestration tasks by triggering and running a lot of other little catalogs running on your nodes. And if you think on testing, I love to do crazy tools, diffing huge catalogs, running a lot of Puppet versions with the very same catalog. And if you can do this with small pieces, with Puppet on demand, with SSH on different nodes, this gets really funny. Same is true for containers. So you do not have to run Puppet in the container and SSH daemon in the container. Just bring those files somehow with SSH rsync to the host machine and run it in the namespace of the container, and you're done. If you want to hear more about these crazy ideas, let's doing something later on, or you can of course hire Mr. Netways. So thanks for listening, own your tools, and shave your puppets.